Hello and welcome to Work-Life Matters. I'm Siv Ngesi, your host, and I'm excited to be bringing you candid stories, practical strategies, and awesome insights as we chat to a range of cross-section professionals, entrepreneurs, and startups, and much more to find out about how work-life matters to you, about them. Today I'm talking to Gift Lubele, Lorna Pretorius, and Dokuna Moema about sustainable community. I hope you enjoy. Gift Lubele, how are you, brother?
Very well. How are you doing, sir?
Good, good. Listen here, your CV actually has some words that I need to read to make sure I get them pronounced correctly. I just want to read your titles and how they actually describe you. Here it goes. A globally awarded circular economy entrepreneur, TEDx speaker, World Economic Forum global shaper, South Africa's most influential young person, top 20 under 30 entrepreneur and co-founder and COO of Kudoti, like rubbish. Listen, your parents must be proud you have all of the things in your title. How are you, brother?
Good, good, man. Super excited to be here. For me, I think the most exciting part is just sharing, hey? Titles are just a mere tap in the shoulder that you are on the right direction, but it no means, describe someone. I think there's so much more that I would love to share, particularly just working with the people on the ground around waste and Kudoti.
Okay, you're referred to as the entrepreneur that turns waste into money. Is that true?
Well, maybe let me say I'm trying to turn the waste into money. And maybe to add a little bit on that, I would say that what I'm realizing now is for you to convert waste into money, the data of the waste becomes very, very important. Everyone is doing recycling and everyone is trying to at least recycle in their own personal capacity, but we don't have visibility of that. The industries as well don't have visibility of where materials go. To give an example, if brand X is producing plastic bottles, in many cases, they don't know where those bottles end up. And in South Africa, we know that 80 to 90% of all household packaging passes through the hands of informal waste pickers. So the guys that we see on the road, they actually play a really big role in this industry. And the reason I started Kudoti along with my co-founder is to give people the opportunity to grow and thrive within this industry by focusing on data, because with data, we can see where materials are, we can bring them back into the production cycle.
Sure. All right. So for me, how did you get into this? Because in our black households, I don't remember mother ever talking about recycling, brother. I don't understand how you got into it. But how did you get into this particular topic as a person of color?
Yeah, actually. So I grew up in a very small village in Limpopo. My mother was working in Joburg. I was staying there with my grandmother, and my grandmother would burn waste or she would bury waste. And that's how she grew up, right? Like we saw waste as waste, and that's where it ended up. But then I moved and I stayed in Tembisa. I loved Tembisa, super vibrant. Everything is out in the plain. And part of what I saw was the waste. Just a few meters away from where we stayed was like an illegal dumping site. So when I was still in high school, I started making products out of waste. And I've seen that it is the perception of people around waste that makes it difficult for us to innovate and come up with some really cool stuff that not only speaks to waste, but it speaks to much bigger problems that we have, such as the extraction of raw materials from our precious earth, right? So since high school, I've been trying to kind of play around with ideas, understand how waste can firstly be seen as a resource. I really like your jersey, Sev. That jersey, when it gets torn apart, chances are you probably wouldn't have good visibility of where it ends up, right? But imagine a world where when such a jersey, gets turned up, we have visibility of who is recycling it, where it is, and what it then becomes, because the jersey you're wearing is material, and that material can be used to recreate new, exciting projects. And that's what we're trying to do now.
What is a circular economy? We use that word in the beginning. I don't know what that means. So my mother always told me I must ask when I don't understand.
Yeah, so the word circular economy means, in simple terms, to keep material in circulation for as long as possible, right? The dictionary definition of the word circular economy says it's a model of consumption and production that involves resharing, releasing, recycling, and so many other concepts that helps us rethink most of our system. To give you a practical example, we're currently working with one of the biggest alcoholic beverage companies in the world. Actually, they're my client, and they put something like, 800 million bottles within the South African economy, and they don't know where those bottles end up. What we've been doing is bringing them back, working with different people like informal waste pickers, recycling companies, and bringing bottles that previously were going to be lost and thrown away, and those bottles can recreate new bottles. And we want to do that for as many times as possible. Now, think outside of those bottles, think about the jerseys, think about cars. What happens to the tire of your car when it gets a puncture? We have a lot of potholes in South Africa, one of our advantages, but such things. So every single thing, the word circularity can be applied. Every single business model, every single industry, circularity is such a big thing that we must all start thinking about.
How can an individual or a company get involved in this initiative?
So for anyone who wants to, encourage or grow circularity or recycling or sustainability, they can really reach out to us, kudoti.com, or they can reach out to me. If you type in Gift Lubele on your Google search, I should be there. Connect with me. At the end of the day, for me, I just want to invite people to share ideas and to start imagining, right? Part of what we fail in doing as a human race is we fail to innovate and we fail to imagine. We accept things as they are. And waste is one big thing that we have accepted. If you go to townships like Tembisa or Soweto, big cities like Johannesburg, waste is there. And we've always seen it as waste, but it has to change, because waste, in fact, is material that can be used to not only help people make money and improve their social, difficulties, but it can also create economic opportunities. So I want to invite every single person, whether you're a government stakeholder, a private company, an individual who's just starting to do recycling, to reach out to us, let us connect, and let us help you have the digital technological tools you need to take your business to the next step.
Let's talk about your company. What an unbelievable name, Kudoti. Can you just translate it for people who don't speak Vernac or refuse to speak Vernac or only speak Vernac when they sing the anthem?
So Kudoti is Kudoti. And depending on which part of the world you are, it's pronounced Kudoti or whatever, but it actually means what it is. It's dirt, right? And we came with this idea, firstly, to sort of change the perception of waste and make waste very cool and very easy to digest, right? Everyone who has waste, and you see these three little circles, the famous recycling thing. We didn't want that, because what we're trying to do is get people excited about waste. Like when I told you what Kudoti meant, I really liked your reaction, Siv, because you were like, oh wow, I didn't realize that. That's what we want. And not just on the name, but also on what we do, and also what can be done with the waste itself.
How do you simplify the topic for us who grew up in the townships, and the last thing we want to think about is recycling when we have bigger problems? How do you get the message to the people on the ground? Because I think that's the majority in the country.
It's been very difficult. I'll admit that. One way I've seen that the message hits closer to home is understanding people's social dynamics. You can't speak about recycling to someone who's struggling to find a job. They are very hungry. There's no food at home, and there's so many other things that they're worrying. Like worrying about the environment or the world in general is the last thing on their mind. What we've been trying to do in these initiatives is understand what people want to get, right? So we've been working, as an example, in Tembisa with more than 150 informal waste pickers. And before we even speak about climate change and sustainability, what we simply do is understand how we can help them make money and make more and bring more food at home. And I think sometimes these very complex issues need a way of us to surf it and only share what needs to be shared, because they're very complex. You know, you could imagine if I'm speaking to someone who doesn't even speak English as properly as I do, you know, maybe they speak Sepedi or Venda or whatever may be the case. I can't tell them about climate change. They will never understand. But I need to bring it down to what makes them an important part of the value chain. The same can be said with big companies that we've been working with, the likes of Nestle and so forth. They also have their own way of speaking this language. You know, they speak about sustainability or ESG or standards and indexes. Those are things that are important to them as a business. And previously, there's been a huge disconnect where big brands actually want to reach the people on the ground, but because the language barrier is such a big thing. And by language, I don't mean spit in English, right? I mean just the ability to say the right words and really connect with the people. It has been missing that. So what we try to do in answering your question is assess at which level are we engaging with these stakeholders and kind of build it from there.
And last question, please, quite a short question and answer, is what are your visions and goals for this company and for recycling in general in the country and in the world?
Yeah, for us, it is to give visibility of where waste material is. Once we understand that, we can then essentially take that waste and create new exciting things. Our role in that is to be a digital platform. Think of it as a system that enables people to do things, a platform people can go if they're doing recycling, and they do that so that they grow. We are a digital platform that provides traceability, supply chain optimization, as well as improving operations. And we do that digitally without actually doing the recycling.
Brother, you know what my dream is for you is that one day there can be a vernac word for climate change. Could you imagine Xhosa?
That's a really good one.
Climate Man, it's great to chat with you. I love your passion, and I hope the townships can actually understand the kind of things that you're talking about. And I wish when I was younger I knew more about recycling and everything you're talking about. So thank you so much for chatting with me.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me, Siv.
After that episode, I really am inspired to be a better version of myself. Next time I bite into an apple, I will think where it came from and I'll think where it's going. See you on the next episode.